late, made my mistakes, and somehow I don't feel them, but it's bound to hit me later tonight. I wanna say you're everything I wanted for a while and for the rest of time. I don't wanna fight for you, I just wanna talk, and I don't wanna spin around. I'm scared to call you, can't calm you down. No, better than nobody else. It's hopeless confiding. Your love kills me every time. Stupid addicted to you. I'm stupid addicted to you. Oh, can't get enough of you. Can't get enough of you. The pain is still the same. I tell you I don't feel it, but I've never been a liar. I'm a page that you can read. You're everything I wanted for a while and for the rest of time. I don't wanna fight for you, I just wanna talk, and I don't wanna spin around. I'm scared to call you, can't calm you down. No, be better than nobody else. It's hopeless confiding. Your love kills me every time. Stupid addicted to you. I just can't get enough of you. Baby, can't get enough of you. No, be better than nobody else. It's hopeless confiding. Your love kills me every time. Stupid addicted to you. I just can't get enough of you. Oh, I can't get enough of you, baby. I can't get enough of you. Oh, you know, baby, I just can't get enough of your love. Oh, I can't get enough of you. Stupid addicted to you. Oh, I'm stupid addicted to you.
What's going on, everybody? Congratulations on being the first person who has ever actually read that and said it in chat. You are winner. Wow. Today we are going to be making a wonderful thing. And I don't know what, but it will be wonderful. Whatever we make will be wonderful. So far we got this super cool map that you can zoom in and out on. There's some weird rendering artifacts. I don't know why these lines, because like floating point precision errors or whatever, it's annoying. But like if you're at 100% zoom, it's fine. I think also, yeah, whenever you zoom out, it makes these weird lines. Only at certain levels. But it's working fairly well. The map is randomly generated every time. We don't have any way to save it right now, so that's the thing. I just added this dude. Basically, we haven't actually. I'm not gonna open it, but we have another version of this where the guy can walk around, but it's based on some technology that I no longer wish to use, so I'm porting it to a new library thing called Raylib, which is made by Ray, hence the name Raylib. Ray's library lets you do some neat rendering stuff, setting up windows, super easy, getting input, playing music. I have stream music playing, so you can't really hear the audio, but you can hear the annoying whoosh sound that like starts when the game plays. That's this. That's gonna be placeholder audio annoying noise for guy swinging sword. But then I was like, well, that's silly. I have guy swinging sword noise, but there's no sword. And not only is there no sword, there's no guy. So first we need guy, and then guy needs sword, and then sword can have sword swingy noise, you know? So we got guy. The problem with guy is guy can't move. This is a terrible guy. I drew him in paint. I know it's bad. It's fine. It's not meant to be good. It's just meant to be guy. If we go to somewhere in here, bin, resources, Charlie. Guy's name is Charlie. Why? I don't know. Last time I made a guy, I called him dude.png. That seemed boring. So this guy's name is Charlie because it's less boring than dude. That is literally the only reason. He has some kind of decent-ish sort of up, down, left, right sprites, but the diagonal ones are really, really awful. Bad, terrible, useless. They look even worse when they're like moving in the game. But you know, animating a guy walking at 45 degrees is not in the repertoire of skills that I currently have. So you get this. Droopy, sad, sideways man. But basically, we need to do what we did in the old thing. I don't know if I'll copy... I guess I could copy the old code, because we kind of already did this, even though it was somewhat poorly implemented. I think it's in here. Old, main. Did we refactor it? I think it's in game. Might be in main. It's probably in main. Where's old dude code? It's like direction equals something. Yeah, so these are the directions for the sprites, right? There's like... I actually need two versions of this sprite. I could make this part an overlay and draw it twice. I don't know. I probably need just two versions of this. Actually, yeah, I do want this to be an overlay. I should use particles for the notes. Basically, I want the guy to be idle, like to be standing still when he's idle, but then after some certain delay, I want him to start singing or whistling or something. You know, like in Sonic, he does the tapping foot thing, like if you just let him not move for a while. Here's the game one. Is this a GIF? Anyways, he taps his foot. I don't know if there's... Oh, here we go. See this? Wonderful. This is our reference art for inspiration. Sonic chillin', tapping foot. We're not going to do tap and foot because, you know, we don't want to directly copy it, but basically we want the guy to get bored when you don't press any buttons for a while and then like start singing or something. So yeah, so that's what this is for. Currently, whenever he is walking down or standing still, it just uses the sprite because there's not a separate one. So actually there's... Wait. Down, left, right, up. There is a separate one. Why is this the idle? I guess that's just when he's not moving. I could change that, because like this would be a fine idle thing. Yeah, I think I just coded it incorrectly in the old one, so I don't know. We'll just copy this stuff, I guess. It's not a lot. We could rewrite it, but whatever. We'll copy the player class to the new project. It's not going to be a class because we're not using C++ anymore, so there are no classes because C++ is... C++. So we're going to call this struct player. And struct player is not going to have public or private because that's not a thing. We're going to take all of the methods out of the class, which is now a struct because it makes no sense for that to be the case. Draw, vector, vector, constructs. We'll just take all this stuff out and figure out what we need later. Enum direction. Should this go in here? Probably not. Wait, can it go in here? I think this probably isn't gonna work. Player. I'm gonna have to fix all the syntax errors before I can test this. Maybe. Let's see. Player. Dang it. Okay, what is this? This is const char name. There's a train going by. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Direction. Enum direction. We could type def this. Can I type def in here? I don't even know. I don't think I can. Okay, we're just gonna move this outside. I don't think it can go in here anyways, so that's fine. Direction. We should call this something else. It's not really direction. It's like player. Let's see. Action. Should we call it action? What is that called? State machine. Finite state machine. FSM state player. I guess player states. Call it player states. Not state like Minnesota, but you know, state like what state is this thing in? And then we'll have player state, which is consistent with particles because I do the same thing. I also call it state there. So player. We can type def player as well because reasons. Sure. Helps if you spell type def correctly. Bootleg Pokemon. How come you're not using C++? Because I'm not using C++. That's why. Good question, but I'm the wrong person to ask because no answer that I give you will make you happy. So if you like C++, you should use C++. What is this doing? Update direction 00. This just literally sets everything to nothing, so that's kind of pointless. Also, I'm not sure that this guy needs a name. Maybe he needs a name. Does he need a name? Maybe. I don't know. Player, init, const char, name, states. State's gonna be idle. Idle is 0. That's default. Sprite. There's no sprite at the moment. He's gonna need a sprite sheet. We have tile set. We don't have sprite sheet. We should probably generalize sprite sheet, but I think I'm gonna hard code this for now. This can be void. Should we make a sprite sheet? Any votes in the chat? Should we make a sprite sheet or should we hard code where all the sprites are? Let's say we're gonna make a sprite sheet, and then if it's too hard, we'll just hard code it for now and do it later. First, we have to define this as something. We're not gonna have a sprite, so we could just change this to sprite sheet. This type def, delete this. Texture. I keep spelling type def wrong. What does a sprite sheet need? I kind of already have this somewhere in here. What's it called? Sprite batch texture catalog. Wait, no. Was it in here? No, it's the tile set thing has this. I guess, should we make them uniform size? I think we might want to do texture packing. So again, this is going to get kind of annoying if we make everything too general. But whatever, let's try it. Size T, sprite counts. We're going to type def struct sprites. I spelled type def wrong for the third time. Can't type. Struct sprite. Also this, go here. What does a sprite need? Int size T. I never know if I should use int or size T for unsigned things, like the width of stuff. Like size T is supposed to be the size of things. I don't know if I should use unsigned ints. And you get all these stupid typecasting warnings. Width. We could have a rectangle. That uses floats though. I don't want a float rect. I should make an int rectangle. Whatever. I'm just gonna do this for now. X, Y, width, height. These are gonna be like the source dimensions in the sprite sheet. Location in sprite sheet. Also, it's not gonna be sprite, right? It's gonna be like frame. Is a frame? Is each frame a sprite? I guess it would be, right? Sort of. Sprite. We could make sprites. Yeah, this is already getting too over-engineered. Is there like a name for an animated sprite versus a regular sprite? I could call it sprite and static sprite, or sprite and animated sprite. I don't know which one's more popular. Sprite. I think animated sprite makes more sense as the explicit one. Animated sprite is gonna have frames, right? So sprite frame, which again is like, I don't know, whatever. Not gonna think too hard, just gonna type code, see what happens. Frame count. Thanks for the follow. Kawaii Kairyu. Thanks for the follow. How are you not already following me? Wait, how did you know I was streaming if you weren't already following me? Are you stalking me? This is a bootleg Pokemon. Making your own 2D render using something like OpenGL. I'm using Raylib, and Raylib internally uses OpenGL. Trying to avoid using OpenGL directly for now, just because complexity. And I kind of want to make something that isn't a renderer, since I spent the last 3 years making a renderer in OpenGL myself. I never ended up making a game because making a renderer is so hard. Hence the title of the stream, doing 2D because 3D is too hard. So the point of this is to hopefully not get too stuck in the technical weeds and try to make something a bit higher level that's actually maybe playable, even if it's not great. Type def struct sprite frame. I don't know if these are good names, but we can always call them something else later. Sprite frame is going to have a rect. We should make an int rect probably, because I'm going to need this a lot. Although, what's the value of that? I actually don't really like rectangles, because then you end up just having to wrap things in rectangles all the time and like cast. Like down here, I already have a bunch of these, right? Like this vector too. Like you end up just, this would be easier if it just took 2 arguments, but it takes a vector, so then you have to wrap it in a vector. Like this one, I have to wrap in a rectangle. And like down here, like Charlie rect equals rectangle. That like if this were just 4 arguments, like I could just do this, and it's maybe easier. I don't know. They both have pros and cons, I guess. Sprite. I mean, if we put it in a rect, then we can reuse it without typing it a bunch of times. So there is that, right? Like, I'm not really sure. Int rect. Now it's not this. Now it's just this. And we can just call this W and H. I don't really know why people feel the need to be like super explicit about that. Int rect. Rect. Int rect. Okay, so a sprite is just gonna have a texture rect. An animated sprite is gonna have a collection of frames, and each frame is gonna have a texture rect. We could have like offsets or something, but I don't know. Because right now they're all just in a row. Or we could not pack them together. We probably do want to pack them all into one texture one day. That would be wise. Then we don't have to switch textures all the time every time we render a different sprite. And we can batch them all together. And somehow send the current animation frame to the shader or something. I don't know. Or update the UVs on the CPU side. Who knows? So what is a sprite sheet? A sprite sheet is a collection of sprites. I already don't super like this because there's 2 pointers, which means lots of allocations. But maybe that's okay. Could be a vector. Does that help? Doesn't really help, huh? Trying to figure out if this is the easiest way to do this or if we should make it less complicated. I think this is theoretically everything I would need, right? So I guess frames needs more information than this. Right? At the very least, you need a like playback rate or something, which could be constant. Then you have to duplicate the image data if the frame doesn't change, so I feel like you would want to put some sort of delay in here as well. Somewhere. Like rect time, double sprite frame. No, sprite frame. Double frame time? I don't know what it would be called. Could be called delay or yeah, I mean that doesn't really tell you the duration though, right? Like you could also, what if you want to do the weird looping thing where you play like 1 2 3 2 1 2 3 2? Like you want to play the frames not in sequential order, then you wouldn't really want to duplicate these things. So I guess you would want like frames, and then you would want like animation, and then that gets kind of complicated. I want to make my own simple 2D game engine to make a platformer. I got no clue to start. Saw SDL and SFML. Personally, well, I don't know. I guess it depends. If you really like C++ and your game is very simple, then SFML is an okay way to start. I used SFML for 2 days and outgrew it, but I've been programming a long time and want to do a lot of things and get frustrated really easily by tools that are not performant by default or not extensible by default, and SFML is not really performant or extensible in my opinion. So it's great if you want to do simple stuff, but you could outgrow it and then have to port your code, which is fine. It'll still be a good learning experience. If you want to use like C++ and OpenGL, then SDL is probably a better option and just like write all your own rendering stuff. Raylib is good if you want to get started quickly, but the Raylib API is in C, which for me I see as a benefit because it's much easier to understand and use, and it's like super well documented, right? If you look at the header file for Raylib, it's just like literally a bunch of structs and then a bunch of enums and then a bunch of functions, and every function has like a one-line snippet that tells you what it does, which sometimes actually isn't enough information, and I wish there were more, and maybe there is somewhere. I didn't really look that hard on the website. I've mostly just been referring to the Raylib source code when I need to know what something does, but most of the time the one-liner thing for simple stuff is like enough, right? Like get monitor width gets the monitor width of the specified monitor. Like that's fairly straightforward. Then you have to figure out like, what do I pass to int monitor, right? Like somewhere there's a monitor ID I have to get, so you try to figure that out, but it's probably like get whatever, get monitor something, get monitor name. I don't know, maybe you enumerate them somehow. There's some default examples as well that are pretty decent. Yeah. Does a lot of drawing stuff really easily as well. But I don't know, I've found it better than SFML, but obviously it still has limitations. So it really depends what you want to do. If you want to like totally go from scratch, or if you just want to pick something like SFML is fine, or Raylib or some comparable thing. I don't really know what other ones there are, honestly. There's not a lot of good ones. Yeah, I don't know how far I want to go with the animation stuff, because I did this for tile sets and then I simplified it to like one structure and it was much better. I also don't really want to fill out all this data, so there's that. But basically, like, I don't really know, David. I'm just making a 2D thing at the moment. Literally, that's the extent of how deeply I've thought about this. It's a 2D thing. Let's see if I can run it. If I comment all this crap for a second. What's this? Player has no field end drawing. Okay, well, I mean, obviously. Obviously. So I wanted to do something where I could procedurally generate a world, like Don't Starve. So that's what inspired this map, procedural map thing. So I found a cool algorithm for generating a map. Well, it doesn't really generate a map directly. It generates a thing that you can use to like basically sample discretely and then figure out what the tiles are. It's called RRT, which is, I just ran CC Cleaner and it deleted my web history, which is kind of annoying because I usually keep my web history so that I can find shit that I researched 3 months ago. But it's called RRT, Rapidly Exploring Random Tree. It's basically an extremely simple algorithm where it's defined in a very not extremely simple way because Wikipedia thinks that everything is like a configuration space, a mathematic configuration space. Literally, you just pick a random point, right? Like you just have a configuration space literally means like it's a 2D game, so this configuration space is 2 dimensions, X and Y. Why they need to use dumb math terms, I don't know, because they always do that. But literally, you just have some space. It can work in 2D or 3D or any dimension, which is why they're using weird math terms, but obviously I'm using it in 2D. You pick a random point, you pick another random point, and then you pick one random point as the root node. I'm just picking the center of the map, which is what both of these examples do as well. Then you pick a second random point and you connect you pick n more random points. Basically, you have n sample points, however many samples you want to do. This is 45 and 390 iterations, right? Each one's a sample point. You find the closest existing node or vertex. This is a graph, right? So it's a vertex in a graph or a node in a graph. And you connect the newly generated point to the closest existing point. And then you pick a new random point. And you get this sort of thing, I guess. I've never actually drawn the graph that I'm generating, so I don't know how close the thing I'm generating is to this. I drew the points, but I'm actually not generating edges at all. I just forwent keeping track of edges. So I just keep like the ends of each of these nodes. Well, I keep the intersections as well, right? All of the intermediate nodes. And then basically I end up with a thing that's just a list of vertices, random vertices. Which I guess is hardly even this algorithm. It's really just picking random points, kind of. Maybe. Like maybe I'm not even using this algorithm. Just pick random points, and then at some point, at some certain depth, I think it's like an eighth of the way through the number of samples, I stopped changing the terrain type of the nodes, so that and I reduced the distance that the nodes search out, so that things that are near each other form sort of continents, like large contiguous areas of the same type of tile, because that's kind of what I wanted. Is I wanted like a biome generator essentially. So I have like is it this? It's not this. I deleted my history. Fuck. Maybe I can. Oh, now I gotta sign in. Hold on, I'm on my other monitor. Zoinks, you've taken a wrong turn. God damn it. Well, you need to fix that problem. Fix that problem, please, Imager. Let's see, is it this? View and edit post. How do I find... Here we go. Okay, so basically I did this, right? I literally just picked random integers and it created this map. This was in the SFML version. I started this project like last week, right? I worked on it for like 3 days. Then I started converting it to Raylib. I was just evaluating SFML and trying to learn C++, and I gave up because I'm old angry man who is too lazy to learn C++. So I used Raylib. Raylib's in C, and then I got pulled back into writing C code. So whatever, I'm using C. Maybe I'll port it to C++, maybe not. I don't really see the value in C++, but whatever. Picked random things, got that. Picked, these are out of order. I literally specifically reordered these, and now they're like out of order again. Why? Why you do this to me? You know what, I can't even be arsed to rearrange them. Basically, I had that, and then I did this one. This is just like a debug mode where I generate every single tile sequentially to make sure that all the texture rectangles are correct, right? Like make sure that I can show you the texture. What's it called? Tile 64. Basically, I want to make sure that none of these things show up, right? Like I don't want to see any checkerboard patterns. So this just makes sure that there's no checkerboards visible, which means all the texture coordinates are being sampled correctly. That's not really map generation, it's just the thing that it is as the second test. And then the third test was doing the RRT style thing, which gives you this. This was the first thing that I got when I generated it, right? It's like, it's better than totally random, right? It's better than this, but not by a lot, right? Like there's little groups of things, but it still just looks very chaotic and not very useful or logical or like something that formed naturally. And also they're very triangular. Like there's a lot of straight edges. It's kind of a Voronoi diagram in a way. If I could draw the RRT, it would be more obvious why that's the case. So I got this picture, and then I got this picture, right? So like this, very chaotic, not nice. And then I got this by just tweaking some parameters for a little while, which is much nicer. This is basically what I'm using now. And then someone in Discord asked me if I like how to add beaches. So I did this, which is basically a post pass over the data. So I use RRT and I generate this, and then I do a post pass, find tiles adjacent to water and replace them with sand. It's not actually sand, this is whatever, this color. You can call it quote unquote sand. And then basically I got rid of so there's like giant desert biomes and then there are beaches. And I thought it looked kind of weird, so I got rid of the desert biomes and just used those for beaches, and I thought it looked a lot nicer. If you're gonna do the sand around water thing, you may as well just do sand around water and not have like giant sand biomes that weirdly merge. But I don't know, you could see it either way. It's just up to interpretation. And then I thickened them a bit, right? So this is like the original beaches were replace one tile, and it's very aliased. So I did like 3 wide. It's still aliased because it's tile based, but it looks a little bit nicer. You could probably randomize that as well. Like it would be kind of cool as I'm doing the post pass over this. It's kind of like a kernel function, right? Like the bigger this is, it's exponentially more work, right? Because this is a 3x3 pass over every tile, whereas this is a 1x1 pass over every tile. So this is, 9x the work. I could do some optimization to like only check down and right, since I've already done the up left tiles, but not really doing that right now. It's just a naive 3x3 like 9x work sort of thing. But you could vary that, right? You could make it do like anywhere from 1 to 5 tiles away as you're passing over the map, and then maybe you could get like wide sections and narrow sections of each, and that would look more natural or something. I don't know. It wasn't that important to me. It was mostly just I wanted to see how hard it would be. Then I remade it in Raylib with solid color rectangles, because that's the easiest thing to render in Raylib. Is like you just say rect, and then x, y, width, height, and a color, and got this thing. And then I added the textures back in. I added a kind of a weird zooming thing that I didn't like very much, because the zooming thing loses resolution as you zoom out, which it's designed to do on purpose, because I don't want to render every single tile when you're zoomed out, because it wasn't performant enough, right? I was getting like 2 FPS. So I did this like dynamic zoom thing, but it wasn't super great looking. And then I did this zoom thing, which looks amazing, but again runs at 2 FPS because it's rendering every single tile when you zoom out. And I think this is the fast version of the zoom that I'm using currently, which is actually the same thing as this the bad zoom, except the bad zoom isn't textured, and this one is textured. And it turns out the bad zoom looks a lot better if you have textures. And also, the game, you're not really going to be able to zoom in the game because there are a lot of weird rendering artifacts that causes. So it's not even a gameplay mechanic. It's just like if I want to zoom out and see the map for whatever debugging, I don't know. I don't know if I'm even going to make a tile editor. If it's procedural, you don't really need a tile editor, right? So probably am not going to turn this into a map editor. I've made a map editor, 2D map editor ages ago. It was, you know, like you select a tile and change the type or whatever, but it's probably not necessary. Maybe you want the user to be able to do that, right? Like Don't Starve has the pitchfork and you can like change the terrain or whatever, but it's not really meant to be like Minecraft where you change the tiles of the world. This is just background information, and there'll be other things on top of it, presumably like whatever, monsters or chests or walls that you walk in a maze around or something random like that. This is just random. Oh, this is a particle thing that I was working on. Look, the GIF looks kind of bad. I don't know. It actually looks okay here. When I post it in Discord, it plays weirdly and looks awful. I think it will work in here though. Like you can probably see the actual one. If I hit P, it plays this random particle thing. So I was like playing around with particles. This is supposed to be like blood splatter or something. I don't know. Just a random particle thing. I'll probably make other ones. Like you could turn off the gravity and it kind of turns into fire, right? Like if I just go in here and set whatever, turn off gravity, it kind of makes like a cool spraying upward effect. Like, right, if you play this on repeat, this could be like a torch or something if you play with the colors a bit. Or I don't know, it could be like you attacking forward. If you imagine this is 3D space. It could be a flamethrower. I don't know if that'd really work as a flamethrower. I guess it could work as a flamethrower, right? If you just changed X, Y. Like if you just changed Y to 0, then it would go to the right. Or I guess it goes randomly. Yeah, anyways. You get the point. It's particles. Everyone makes particles, man. Easy. You'd be a good person to make a sim ant style game. Sure. C better. C++, whatever. Yeah, pretty much. I don't know. It's just annoying. You could even make the expansion of sand in the variable 1 to 3. Yep, precisely. Thinking of the same shit I am. Indeed. Great minds. Or 0 to 4, but keeps consistency. 0 to 4 would be interesting, because, I mean, you do have, like, cliffs or whatever in real life that are not, like, the beach isn't everywhere, right? Like, there are plenty of places next to the water that are not beach, so that might make sense as well. Like, just randomly decide on a, 25% likelihood that something should be a beach or not be a beach. I could do that right now. It's trivial to change, but I kind of want to get a dude walking around, and I'm trying to figure out how over-engineered I should make the dude that walks around, because obviously I can just hard code this shit like I did in the old one, which is what wherever code disappeared, this thing, that's what this does, right? I commented this so that the code would compile, but I should uncomment this because it's actually important. We need to initialize the player with something. What I was going to initialize the player with? Like a sprite sheet. Is it a sprite sheet, or I guess it would be an animated sprite. Should the animated sprite point to the sprite sheet? Does it need to care about the sprite sheet? I don't think so. It needs to know what texture it has. I'm actually not sure that I need the concept of a sprite sheet at all. Like maybe I could delete sprite sheet. Right? Maybe. Because really just these things need to know what their texture is, which maybe is duplicate data. Right? I do need texture. I don't know if I really need to store the sprites in here. I guess I should so that I can clean them up easier later. But I should probably have like an array of animated sprites, right? Like just this or something. Maybe. Not really sure. Like probably you'd want to put that in here. Sprite. Frames. So I need a collection of sprites. Actually, this is sprite, not animated sprite. So would I need both? Seems redundant to have both. Like I feel like a sprite should know whether or not it's animated. Like maybe if it has so I could either make everything be an animated sprite, and if it's not animated it only has one frame. That could be fine. Or I could do frames, frame counts. So I could do frame count, and then I could do this union. Ints rects, otherwise frames. I usually just call this data because I'm too lazy to think of a better name. I guess this would be frames, right? And then I have this frames. Data, just call it data. So basically if one use rect, otherwise use frames. This is like C stuff that C++ people would throw up if they saw, but you know, whatever. I like unions. So basically if the frame count is 1, then we only ever access the rectangle, and if the frame count is greater than 1, then we access the frames. That's the logic there. And if this is a rectangle, then basically this would be sprite, and then we don't need sprite, right? Then we just need frame. So what if now a frame is just a rectangle and a frame time? So like we could just say rects and times. Is that any better? Right, we could have 2 adjacent arrays instead of an array of structs. Structive array instead of array of struct. Is that better? Maybe, sort of. I don't know. How big is a rectangle? Because then we could have like this. Yeah, no. So I just want to avoid the dynamic allocation for things that only have one frame because it seems useless. So like I could sprite frame if there's only one, otherwise it's a pointer. But I don't really need a frame time if there's only one. So this could just be an int rect, right? I'm not sure where this would point to. Sprite frame. I think I'm just gonna do this and keep this. So there will be sprite frames. A sprite will always have some number of frames. Could be 1. It will always be a pointer. But the pointer is going to point to data owned by the sprite sheet. So the sprite sheet is going to have sprite frame, sheet frames, every frame in the sheet. And then sprites, sprite count, and then frame count, and then frames, right? Why is this failing? Because typedef is named incorrectly. Texture could be ST, I don't know, it doesn't really matter. Every sprite in the sheet, every frame in the sheet. Frame should probably go first, both alphabetically and logically. When you're loading this, you're gonna load in all the frames, and then you're gonna load in all of the sprites, which are gonna point to the frames. Right, so frames for this sprite's animation. Could be just one, if static. Often just one. One for static sprites, I don't know. Yeah, then we just need to allocate basically two buffers, this buffer, and these pointers will be pointers into this buffer, so we don't need to like allocate pointers of pointers to things, you know? Hi ho, what's up Zormac? Or Xormac. Ermagerd, I know all this shit. Fun to find someone using Raylib. Neat. Yeah, Raylib's pretty cool. What's your Discord? I can voice chat help you. Wait, what? Who's Discord? Oh, like my username? I don't really need help. If you have like particular ideas, you can say them in chat, but I got this, man. I can do it. I'm also like, I'm writing a struct that has a few things in it, right? But I'm thinking like 7,000 steps in the future, which is why, you know, I'm trying to vocalize some of the things that I'm thinking for people that are watching so they're not totally lost. But if you've done this before, then you already know the things that I'm thinking about in the future, which, like I said, is if I have a sprite sheet and the sprite sheet has sprites and the sprites have frames and I don't do this, right? Then basically I need to dynamically allocate one buffer that holds all the sprites, which, you know, dumb C++ people will not even do this. They won't even allocate all the sprites in a buffer. They'll allocate each sprite as a separate thing, right? You do like C++ world, like sprites, and then every single one of these sprites has to be dynamically allocated with new, and then you call a constructor on them, right? Which is like insane. So instead we allocate one buffer, but even people who are like doing it the C way or like the buffer way they're like, I'm smart, I'm gonna make a buffer. But then for every single sprite that has frames, they'll dynamically allocate this, right? So if you have 700 sprites, then you have like one allocation because you were smart in the sprite sheet for sprites, but then you have 700 allocations for the frame collection for each sprite, right? So again, if you want to be super big brain, then you just have two dynamic allocations, one to hold all the sprites and one to hold all the frames. And then these pointers, the sprites, just point into this array, right? It doesn't even need to be a pointer. It could be size t frame index if you prefer, right? And this is like index into sprite sheets frames. But the annoying part about if you store it as an index is now I don't know like where the sprite sheet is, right? Where's the sprite sheet? So then I have to like store a pointer to the parent sheet so that I can do like sprite parent sheet frame index to get the frame, right? Frame equals, which I don't really, I don't know. I mean, it might be okay to do this. Maybe this is better because sometimes you might need the parent, but by default, I'd prefer not to need the parent if I don't need the parent, right? So I just do this. Like, note, if you need parents, probably better to store index instead of pointer. I don't know. It's not really better because then you still have to look it up. So whatever. It might save an indirection as well if you have a pointer, as opposed to like looking up an index versus the frames pointer and adding it and then dereferencing that. But whatever. I'm just gonna delete this. That was for purpose of example. These are both called frames, but they're different things, right? This is every frame. This is the sprites frame. I don't know if a sprite needs anything else other than a rectangle and a time, right? Like I want it to just delay for a certain amount of time. I don't even need this by default. It could be constant, but seems like that would be good to configure. I don't like that I have to make a new thing, but like Raylib's rectangle is a float, and I don't think it has any integer version of this. Like it has image, which has width, height, yeah. Like Raylib uses, it's weird because they don't have a float version of color, but they don't have an int version of rectangle. And all the vectors are floats, which makes sense because you can't even do like some of the operations. Yeah, I don't know. Weird. I'm not sure that I need int rect. I could just inline these in here. I guess that's kind of what they're doing, right? Well, you could also do this vector to position. Well, that's a float as well, so I don't know. I don't think I want to store it as a float because it's pixel data. That's the main reason. Like I want to make sure there's no precision issues, whereas storing time as a float is fine. So that I don't care about. Like this could be like size t frame count, but then that's frame rate dependent, so you know. Anyways, we gotta port the rest of this stuff. Player, what is this? Player name state. What else does a player have? It has a sprite. I guess just one sprite, right? I don't know. Sprite. Probably, maybe. Use direction. Do I care about this? Should this be a pointer? Probably. Since this is gonna own them. Yeah, so that's probably fine. I don't know how this data will be defined. Like I'm probably just gonna hard code the data for now and then figure out how to refactor that out into some config file or something later. I don't think I need to initialize any of this stuff. Maybe name, like name and sprite. So this will be like sprite. Also it's C, so we have to actually do this. Player. And then player, name equals name, player sprite equals sprite. And then I just like to do this because it helps me find bugs faster. Right? 2D, why? Because it's easier than 3D. Read the stream title, bro. LOL, I'm totally lost. What's up, Fallen Shadow? I think you deleted me on Discord, so you must have not wanted to associate. I don't think I deleted you. Is that, how do you, is that even a Discord feature, deleting people? Yeah, you're definitely not deleted. Oh, it says, I don't remember if you have a Discord, David. I'm in like 75 bajillion Discords, so I often leave Discords. Like I prune my Discord server list. So I think what happened is I might have left your Discord or whatever Discord we used to be in together, because it says I can't message you because we're not in the same Discord. So we probably just were never friends. So I can like add you as a friend somehow. Add friend. Yeah, Discord has this like, I guess it kind of makes sense, like privacy thing where if you're in the same server with someone, you can DM them, but if you leave the server, then you're not allowed to DM the person anymore, even though you already started DMing them, unless you add them as a friend, which is like fine, I guess, but I don't know. It's like, dude, we were already friends. Also, is this recording to somewhere? Is the FPS really bad? Because last time I tried this, the FPS was really bad. Like, how's the frame rate of the stream? I know it's 1080p. Yeah, I'm recording this. Nice. I forgot I turned that on. I had to unplug one of my hard drives because it was about to die, so I wanted to preserve its life until I can buy a new hard drive and copy all the data off of it. But the hard drive was my like secondary hard drive, not my C drive, but my F drive, which is where I installed a bunch of applications. So now I have like a shit ton of random broken things on my desktop. Like all these white icons are things that used to be installed on my F drive that are no longer available because I unplugged my F drive. So whenever I try to run a program now, I'm just like, see all these icons with like the blue thing? It's like a 50-50 shot whether or not the program that I want to run actually will run because it might have been on my other hard drive. I put all my important things on the C drive generally just because performance. My C drive's a SSD and the other drive isn't. It's a terabyte hard disk. Spinny Mechanical Boy. But Spinny Mechanical Boy was making spinny mechanical noises and grinding sounds, and like I said, I didn't want it to die, so I unplugged it. One day I'll buy a new one, but for now I'm living without it. I think you deleted me. 3D no hard. He blocked you. Don't let him lie. Laughy face. I thought we were friends. I don't care you left the server. I thought we were friends. We were friends one day. Yeah, I don't think we were friends, but I don't know. Maybe I blocked you. Maybe you said mean stuff and I decided not to be your friend anymore. Could be. But let's see, what's the last thing you said to me? You were just asking me, oh yeah, you asked me to help some guy. Like learn Python or something. Seems like you were being pretty nice, so I don't know. I don't know why I would have blocked you. Must just be your ugly face. Got him. What the hell is this? Get center. Do I need get center? I don't know if I need get center, so until I... Hello? Alt menu? Can you not? Visual Studio, please. Move. Update direction. Sprite move. Yeah, I don't... This is just SFML bullshit. Oh, update direction. I guess I could... I guess abstracting that sort of kind of makes a little bit of sense. Sort of, kind of a little bit. Also, naming conventions, like, are not good. Because I've got... whatever this shit is called. I've got, like, snake case. I've got, like... whatever this thing is called, lower and then uppercase, and Raylib uses capital case for methods and classes, and then like, oh my god, it's so inconsistent. So I don't know like what to name stuff. In my own code it's easy, but when I start using other people's APIs that have non-C conventions, even though it's written in C, I'm just confused about what to call things. Get center, where'd it go? Update direction. So this should be player. Actually, this is just going to be update direction probably because I'm going to put it in its... see, like offset X, I would normally call offset X, but I was writing C++ and I was following SFML's naming conventions for consistency, so now it's called offset X. I don't know. I don't know, man. Branching could be removed by putting the sprites in more logical order. That is true. I plan to do that. I don't know what this shit is for, though. Set texture rect. I just need to set the sprite. Yeah, this is going to be like to do set player sprite to the correct sprite, which is the same as above. Kind of. Direction, do we need direction? I think player sprite. Oh, it's gonna be a frame, right? Should be an index, frame count, frames. Should it be an index or a pointer? Could be a pointer. Does it matter? Not really sure. Less pointers is better, but I don't plan on like serializing the player's animation state, so probably doesn't matter. Player state, sprite. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Let's make a player quote unquote class, but not a class because this is C and there are no classes. Class. Player.c. Why did it go in that folder when I explicitly was in this folder? Player.h. I know there's a thing that you can like say add class, but every time I do this, it puts the files in the wrong folder and pisses me off. So I just don't use it anymore. It puts them in the root directory of the project. It doesn't put them in the source folder, and I have no idea how to change that. And it's like, why would I want all my source files in the root directory? Like, wouldn't you put them... Maybe it matters what folder you click on when you do that? I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it always puts them in the root folder, because it just happens a lot, and it's annoying. So I gave up. So we're just gonna use it pragma once because it's less characters to type. We're gonna put all of this sheets, not this, in here, and then this sheet in here, which needs to know about Sprite. Yes, maybe? No? You can do that for now. Just make it shut up. And somewhere in here, AL include player. We should move Raylib down probably. I like to put things in order of like closest to my code base at the top and farthest from the code base at the bottom, because then you get less dependency errors. Why? I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it is. This is like a better way to organize your include things most of the time. What's this complaint about? It's probably complaining because I used a lot of C++ code, and this is not C++. Doesn't know what Sprite is. Technically, this file doesn't even need to know, right? Like, I could theoretically do this. I think it's an error if you remove this. Right? It's gonna, like, complain about this one. Maybe. Maybe that's only in methods. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't know if I actually need to include Sprite here. Get center. I also don't know if I need get center, so we're just gonna get rid of this. We definitely need move. So this is gonna take player. Probably not a vector too. I think I'm just gonna say float. Does player even have? I guess that's the thing I need, right? Name. State, sprite. I don't know where this should go. Vector to position. We will include Raylib because that's kind of a global dependency. I don't care. And also we need to know the size of vector 2, so there's not really any way around that. Float, move. We're just gonna go with offsets for now. Sprite is not gonna move anywhere. The destination rectangle is gonna move. Position. I think we can just say player position x plus equals offset x and y. And then we do need to update the direction of the player, which is going to be called update direction, I think. And we will just pre-declare that. Why is offset? I don't know, whatever. We can just copy what we did before and make this better later, because a lot of this is just silly stuff. Draw. I also don't think I want draw to be here, maybe. I'm not sure. Maybe I do. Update direction. We're just gonna put this here so that we can move it freely in the file to wherever we darn well please. Why do I have two of these? Was one a vector and one an offset? Where was that main? I don't know why I have two move. Two moves. Yeah, I had an offset and a vector version. They do the same thing because, yeah, because of SFML. So I don't need this. Same thing. This does have to be called something. We probably also don't want this to be player. Like this whole thing I'm making right now, the quote-unquote class, it's not a class because it's not C++. This probably isn't player. This is probably like rigid body. It's not rigid body because it's not going to be rigid body physics, but you know, it's like entity or something, or game object, or however you want to name it. It's like a higher level thing. Player state is really the only thing that's specific to a player. All this other stuff like name, position, and sprite are just like any renderable thing in the game, really. So it could be like a quote-unquote base class, but not a base class because this isn't C++. I could just use C++, you know, but yeah. So should we refactor that? Probably, but not right now. I'll just rename all of these later when I have another entity that isn't a player, because right now there's just one entity and the entity is the player, so I'll just call these things player because I'm making a game, not an ECS. I need assert because assert is the best, the bestest thing in all the land. Do I care about? I could assert this, but I don't know, it seems kind of dumb, but whatever. It would be weird to call player move with 0. Like, it's a perfectly valid thing to do, but it would be weird, so it probably means there's like a bug on initialized memory or something, you know? So why not catch it? Update direction. I don't really know where update direction should go. I also don't know what this means. State. This is like player state, right? Let's just call this player state for now. Update direction. Update state. We just call this update instead of update state. Yeah, this could just do like all the player update stuff, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what other player update stuff there would be. Well, I don't know. We'll leave it update state, and then later if we have like player update, then we can call update state in here as the first thing, you know? Sure, whatever. But we need to copy this and copy this. I think those are the only two for now. We need to put them in here. Like so. Init. We don't really need a player free because there's nothing to free. This thing doesn't own anything. Like the name, if it got loaded from a file or whatever, yeah. I mean, this doesn't own any data. Struct sprite. What's going on here? That's probably going to be an error. I don't know. What do we need get center for? Oh, yeah, we do need get center, right? Because this is for camera targeting. So we could add that back, I guess. We're just going to basically rewrite it. Const vector 2. We do have to return a vector 2, I suppose, right? Could be const. I don't really use const, but could be const. Player. What would you call it? Would you just call it player center or player get center, you know? Center, if it's like that, sounds like a verb. Could do like player get center. So many options. How do you decide? Does this make sense? Not really sure. Do people do this? Do people name their thing with like underscore and then camel case? Also, it doesn't return void, so now it's like... I get really OCD about my header formatting, so I almost want to do this. Just so that the words line up, you know? It's nice if players is like the first argument and they all line up. But yeah. Then you can also return error codes if an error occurred instead of throwing exceptions. Player get center. We're gonna do this for now just because it's nicer to call. Player get center. Can't decide what to name this. Get center. How do I do the chat vote thing so you can you can vote if I should use camel case or underscore snake case? Do I have anything else that is 2 words? Init ex. Yeah, it looks like we're just doing underscores everywhere. I really hate putting the word get and set in my method names because it just reminds me too much of pointless getters and setters. But if you call it player center, it's like, does it return the center of the player or does it like center the player on the screen, you know? You can, I guess you can tell by the method signature. Anyways, init, okay, what does this do? Sprite get global How do we do that? Should we base it on... So there's a question. Currently, there's nothing that says that every frame of a sprite must be the same size because each sprite frame has its own thing and it probably won't be the same size. Always. But then there's like... If it's not the same size, then don't you need the origin probably to be the center, not the top left? Because if you draw like a second frame that's a different size and the position is based at the top left, it's not going to line up with like what you saw in your paint program, right? Do you know what I mean? Like if this is a sprite and then you have another sprite that's like this, you probably want this to be the center. I mean, ignore the guy in the background, right? You probably don't want, like, you'd probably want the second frame, smaller frame, if it's like an explosion or something, to be like rendered here, not to be rendered here. Most likely. But I don't know, maybe not. Maybe I can just enforce they're all the same size. Like maybe sprites has a rect. Actually, no, it would be like int x, int y. Yeah, so maybe we can enforce that for now. Size determined by sprite must all be the same. Also, there's another question. Would any sprite frame ever be owned by multiple sprites? I don't think so. right? I don't think you'd ever have one sprite frame that's owned by multiple sprites. You could if you wanted to reuse the same like part of an explosion for 3 different explosion animations, then you'd have 3 different explosion sprites and like a fixed number of frames, right? But then you'd probably want them all to be the same size. I think enforcing the size is the same is fine, even if you did weird, crazy stuff like that for now. Yeah, I don't want it to be a vector. So that means, do I not need intrect anymore? Yeah, I don't need intrect. We can just do XY with height. Let's do this though, just for readability. Because if W and H are the same length as X and Y, and you start writing a bunch of code that uses all of them, it gets hard to read. Player rect. Okay, so the player has a sprite, right? That's why I needed to do that, because I needed to figure out how to get the center of the sprite. Also, this is named incorrectly now. Player sprites. Let's comment this so that we stop getting stupid errors. Vector2 result equals this. We're just gonna 0 initialize so that the compiler doesn't give us a warning, even though it's technically redundant. What does chat say? I guess you also pruned my server. No, I think I'm still in your server, Nexus. It's like in the long list of servers. And I don't have time to read them all, you know? Like, this is my server lists on the side here, and there's like it looks like not a lot, right? If I literally have to like make this full screen because there's so many of them. There's like, this is a group of a lot of servers, and this is a group of a lot of servers, and I don't know, I think I missed one. So this thing like scrolls. And then the folders also take up an icon slot when they're expanded, which is kind of annoying. Yeah, I was in like 30 more servers than this, and I deleted a bunch of them, and I'm still in too many servers, so I just keep joining people's servers. So I just like put all of them in, the ones I don't use super often, I put in the folders, and then I end up never reading them. Like, somewhere is Nexus, somewhere. I forgot what it looks like. It has like an N icon or something, right? Maybe I did prune it. I don't know. I was in it fairly recently, but I deleted a bunch. I need to delete more. There's too many. Too many? Weird how I don't see your hi only on the stream. Yeah, it's, well, if you notice, it's red. Because I deleted the Clyde message, but basically it said the message could not be sent. I can right click and resend it, but then it changes the order of the messages, which drives me nuts. Now you'll see the hi, but the hi moved down to the bottom. It's just really dumb, you know. It makes sense for the receiver, but it doesn't make sense for the sender. But I don't know, how do you solve that? Well, you solve that by just letting people message people who aren't their friends if they already have a chat history, I guess, right? That could be a thing. Make an ECS and not a game. Yeah, that's the thing. The problem with making your own engine is it makes exporting to different platforms more challenging. Raylib has decent platform support, so as long as you don't do platform-specific stuff, then it's actually not a huge deal. In this case, the beauty about weird code is it makes it more difficult for people to copy it, which is a benefit if you're not programming on a team. More difficult for people to copy it. I mean, what do you mean? Like people watching the stream and stealing your ideas or something? Like, I don't know what you mean by difficulty to copy it. Why is this an error? What's the problem here? There's a player. Player has a sprite, right? Player has a sprite. Oh, it's not defined. Okay, I do have to do this then. I do have to include sprite.h, which doesn't exist, which means I have to make it. Drats. It was gonna happen one day. Should we just call it Sprite? I don't like having too many files. Sprite. Sprite sheet. Should we call it Sprite sheet? What does a sprite need to do? A sprite doesn't need, we're gonna call it sprite sheet.c. Like we have a tile sheet, now we have a sprite sheet. And sprite sheet.h. There's also like, should my file names be capital case or lowercase? There's so many useless decisions programmers have to make on a like minute by minute basis. Like, should I use spaces or tabs? Which text editor should I use? Which compiler should I? Which flag should I turn on? And like, none of those things actually help you get your project done. And that's why I like C++ less, because it has a lot more of things that you like questions you have to answer in the middle of development that distract you, especially if you're not good at C++ like me. Like, what did explicit mean again? Like, how do I make a virtual destructor? I'm just like looking up stuff that has nothing to do with the importance of like what the game's gonna do, because like no player of your game gives a shit whether or not you use a virtual destructor or not, as long as you don't have memory leaks. Like, just irrelevant decision making, endless irrelevant decision making. Sprite sheets. We're gonna put all of this in spritesheet.h. Don't like it? Too bad. Also, we're gonna include standard lib for reasons. I think it's maybe it's like standard int. I don't even know what the correct place to get size t from is, because when I F12 it goes to some random file that I don't know what it means. VC runtime. But like, how do I, like, you don't include VC runtime, right? Because it's not a standard library. Like, I could do this probably and get this thing, but like, that's not portable. Yeah, so standard int includes VC runtime. This doesn't have size t in it directly. So yeah, I don't know what the minimal dependency to get size t is. And then we need, theoretically, we need texture. We could do this maybe. Actually no, because yeah, that's also a weird thing that Raylib does, is it returns all this stuff by value. And I don't really know why that decision was made. Like, if you do load texture from image, it doesn't return a pointer. It returns texture 2D. So texture is a type def for texture 2D. But texture 2D is this struct, and it's not very big. It's a few integers. So I guess the idea was to just avoid dynamically allocating things, and you just copy them around instead. And maybe my job is to store them all in one place and then have pointers to them if I want to not pass it around. Or maybe I should also just copy it. I'm not really sure. Right? Like, I don't know. Should Spritesheet have a texture or pointer to a texture? And it's kind of weird. Like, what does texture do if texture goes away? Like, I guess it would just have an ID that would point to potentially an invalid OpenGL texture ID, and that would throw a GL error or randomly use the wrong texture. Which sounds not that fun to debug versus a pointer that's like deleted. At least I could catch a deleted pointer in Visual Studio because it would throw an exception in debug mode. So I don't know, it seems like passing these by value is less performant but also more error prone. But maybe not, I don't know. I don't know where texture should live. Obviously you should unload all the things that are using the texture before you unload the texture, but you know, sometimes you make mistakes. Should this be a pointer or what else had a texture? Tile set has a texture. What did I do for tile map? This is RRT. Is it this? So this I just copied the texture in. I feel like this should be a pointer. I'm gonna make it a pointer for now. What else do we have? Particles doesn't have a texture. Tile map. This doesn't have a texture, right? No, just a rectangle. Yeah, I don't know what the right answer is, but for now we're gonna go with sprites. We're gonna go with a pointer like this. Yeah, I don't know. There's also an error to have an empty C file, so you just have to do dumb stuff like this to make it not complain about having an empty source file, which is a bit annoying. Just in general, like a long time ago, there's a business that used Lisp for programming a business marketplace, and it made it very difficult for competitors to copy it. I mean, it's only difficult if the competitors don't know Lisp, right? It also just makes it like harder to hire people who know how to fix your application 3 years after it's written when all the people that made it left your company. So you end up usually screwing yourself over. Like that company's probably out of business and all of their competitors are still doing just fine because they didn't use Lisp. And in the end they were laughing, but I don't know, maybe not. Seems like that would happen. What are all the issues here? I guess past this. Yeah, we need a better texture manager, but whatever. We'll get to that. Tile set texture. Wait, what? This. Oh yeah, that's the other weird thing is all the methods take the texture by value. But that's fine, we can dereference. There's no sprite.h file. It's because I called it spritesheet. Player has no field state. Is that true? Player? Did you let me down? Wait, where did the state go? I'm like 1000% sure I already typed player state here. But okay, if you say so. Player get center redefinition. What? Const vector 2. Why is this even const? It's passing it by value. Like, what's the point of a const thing that's being passed by value? Oh, I think it was the const that was complaining. Syntax error, return. Yeah, I didn't finish this because I didn't have Sprite and it wasn't working. Sprite, get center, width. Okay, what is this doing? Bounds. Player rect, bounds. Player rect left. Oh, well. Wait. Result x equals player position x plus player width divided by 2. I don't know if these are all floats. Is this a float? It's not a float. This is gonna complain, probably. Divided, yeah, sure, whatever. Return. Oh yeah, we could call this center. I usually just call the intermediate variables result. I just do that so it's easier to debug the code. Like I make a temporary variable so it's easier to debug. Obviously I could just like return vector 2 and then put some stuff in here. I think that's not even technically standard C though, and like other compilers complain about it. So I'm trying to avoid those things. Update states. What is this? Width. Oh, texture. Okay, texture. Texture width. I feel like I had this already too, and then deleted it for some reason. I don't know. Texture equals texture. Sure. Expression must have structure union type. What do you mean? It has structure union type. It's a struct. What do you mean? Where's the error? Where's my cursor? Oh, it's talking about this. Texture width. Tile set texture width. Tile set texture width. Is that all of them? I think it's all of them. When we get this stupid warning, I don't know how to get rid of, but the code works fine anyways, so I just ignore it. have to like recompile Raylib or something. I don't know. It's stupid. Visual Studio can't figure out which version, and then it disappears right away. I love that about Visual Studio also. Like you rebuild and then all the warnings disappear, but if you like rebuild again, then sometimes they come back. Like if I do a rebuild solution, then the warning comes back, but if I build again, the warning disappears. Like if you do incremental builds, it like doesn't show you all the warnings. It only shows you some of the warnings when it feels like it. But then you full rebuild and you get all these warnings that you didn't have for like the past 5 days when you're doing incremental rebuilds. And you're like, what? Where did that warning just come from? All of a sudden. Okay, super cool, super great. It says 60 FPS, but it doesn't feel like 60 FPS. Like Streamlabs is obviously making pewter go chug chug. I think it was like over 20 years ago. It's Paul Graham's company. Don't know if you know of him, but yes, you are right. Wait, Paul Graham chose Lisp so that his competitors couldn't copy it? Or are you saying coincidentally they couldn't copy it because it was Lisp? Like, them not being able to copy it because it's Lisp is one thing, but did they choose Lisp because of that? Because that would be a weird business decision. Like, I would understand if it just happened naturally that you want to use a weird, like, niche thing and then other people can't copy you. But it would be weird to, like, intentionally harm yourself by choosing weird niche stuff for the sole purpose of other people not knowing what it is. It's like obfuscation of business practices. Which I guess, security through layers. Could be a key concept in stifling the free market. Okay, now we gotta fill all this shit out. Where do I have that? Charlie. I have a thing somewhere that says 94. Here we go. Yeah, so this we will make a player draw because I want to encapsulate this for now. We're gonna have a player draw. Player draw is basically also update state happens only when move occurs. I think that's okay. No, how do you do the idle thing though? Yeah, wait, how does idle happen if I never update? I think I always have to call update. So let's do that. Let's do void player update player. Can't spell. It's fine. Why isn't there autocorrect in Visual Studio? There probably is. I probably turned it off because I hate autocorrect, but I don't know. I feel like it should just make all my code better. You know, like when you type shit in Google and you don't have to care about how you spell it. Player draw. Should it be draw, render? I don't know. So we should just be able to do this implicitly about where it goes. We're gonna copy this, copy this, copy this. That's also like another tedious thing, like moving stuff to header files manually. Wait, where did update go? We gotta update, bro. Semicolon. Move update draw. Okay, great. Update is going to call update state player. Wait. I don't have an offset. Should I accumulate the offset? I feel like I should accumulate the offset because we need to know the net offset, right? In order to choose the direction. I don't really like this solution, but I'm going to use this solution. Vector Su frame offset used to determine which sprite, which sprite to render. Frame offset. Move. Okay, this is going to do player frame offset plus equals offset x, right? Frame offset y plus equals offset y. Then theoretically, I'm gonna update the position immediately as well. And then we'll do this down here. Player frame offset. This could be a vector 2, I guess. Vector 2 out since it's internal and it's only used from here. Then we gotta replace this with this, cause whoa, 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 too far. We went too far. Came so far to lose it all. Offsets, yeah, sure, whatever. Yeah, so we'll take X and Y into move, but the internal one can use the vector since we have a vector. And then we're gonna say player frame offset equals vector 2. I don't know if this is a good way to do this. Maybe we should write it out the long way, but whatever. Could also mem set it if we want to be super C-like. I should make vector 0 a constant somewhere, maybe. I don't know. Because I don't think you can do this, right? Like, you can only do that in initialization. Like, how else would you do this? Memset? I don't have memset because... How long is memset? Destination would be this. 0. Size, yeah, that's like more to type. And ugly and see like. Draw texture rec. Do we have Raylib in here or in the header? We have Raylib in the header. I'm not super anal about, like, if I need Raylib in the C file and it's already in the header, I don't often duplicate it in the C file. Like, maybe that's more explicit to do, but it's also just more work for the compiler to deduplicate later. Texture, Charlie text. Do we have player text sprite texture? Okay, where's the texture stored? Sprite? Oh. That's a problem. So maybe we should do the parent thing, because the player has a sprite, and the sprite doesn't know which sprite sheet it belongs to, which means there's no way to get the texture, because that's where the texture is stored. We need a texture to render the thing. Right? We could make a draw list and have the sprite sheet render them later. But I think Raylib already does that. Yeah, I don't want sprite sheet to own that. So we're just gonna sprite sheet. And then we have to like pre-declare it or something, right? Let's see. Where were we? In here. Sprite sheet texture. That's kind of long and convoluted. Charlie rec. This is the source coordinates. So we're gonna 0 this, and then we're gonna say 0054. Yeah, this is gonna be Charlie rec x equals player sprite. No, it's the frame. Okay, how do we know which frame we're on? Need to know which frame we're on. this is the generic sprite. It stores the frames. It doesn't store which frame. So frame offset. This is annoying actually. This should be like offset accumulator. Net offset for this frame. Net move offset for this frame. I don't want to call it frame offset because then it sounds like it's something related to the sprite frames. Okay, we got player state. Do we need player state? I don't. This might be redundant. So we need sprite, and then we need size t sprite frame index. Maybe that could be a better name. But so it's gonna be sprite frames player sprite frame index. Right, so like sprite frame is this. And then this is going to be frame X frame Y. I think he was very proficient at Lisp, and it was a weird choice that ended up being beneficial. I think I read about that at some point, him using Lisp. Width equals player sprite width height and then position is going to be, we already have this as position, right? It's just player position, right? Maybe. Does this really save me much effort to put this in a temporary variable just so that I can type it twice? I don't know. Like, I could just do this dot x dot y. I don't know if there's any performance difference between that. I mean, this is like sprite. Well, we have point of the player, then we look at the sprite, and then we look at the frames, and then we offset into that. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of lookups going on there. A lot of lookups. So maybe we can keep it. It's slightly simpler. Width, height. We could get the sprite as well, right? Like sprite equals player. Sprite. And then this could just say sprite frames frame index. And then this can say sprite width, sprite height. Sprite frame. Charlie position we don't need, I don't believe. Now what? What are you complaining about? Player sprite. What? Why is this an issue? What's this complaining about? Player frame offsets. Oh, I renamed this to move accumulator. Move. I'm so inconsistent with naming, like, Jesus. Just pick one. Move accum. Update this, move accum. Sure. So we have update and draw. Update and draw. Okay, now what are you complaining about? Missing semicolon. Where? Why is this a missing semicolon? You know what a struct is. Sprite frame, sprite sheet. I think it's... it might be complaining about this. I'm not sure. Yeah, there's like some error buried in there. I thought that might be a problem. You have to pre-declare this because it's underneath. Like this, it's kind of a circular dependency, right? Sprite sheet has sprites and sprites have pointer to sprite sheet. So you gotta pre-declare it somewhere. You can like pre-declare it in the struct itself by doing this. You can also just say like struct sprite sheet up here if you prefer. Same thing, right? Like this one. You could just do this. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it matters really. It might be compiler specific thing. What's the issue here? Frame offset. Move accum. Formal parameter 2 different than blah blah blah. Update state. Wait, what? Oh, I don't need to pre-declare this really. It's already above the move thing. Player draw too few arguments for call. What does it need? It needs a player, right? Player. I probably don't have a player. Do I have a player? Is it called Charlie? I should make a player called Charlie if I don't have one. Let's see. Player. Player movement. Camera follow player. Player. Charlie. Okay, somewhere in here. Guess we can do it here for now. This is like a big mess. We'll fix it later. Player. Player. Player in it. Player. Charlie. We don't have a sprite, so this is gonna be like Charlie sprite. Then we need sprite. Charlie sprites. Which isn't gonna be like this, because we actually need a sprite sheet. Charlie sprite sheet. Which is not defined, or what? Why is this complaining? Did I spell it wrong? Like what? What's the issue here? Player init Charlie sprite. Is this oh god. Sprites. Charlie sprite equals 0. We're just gonna do this for now. We must not be including this. QRST include sprite sheet. Ah, see, we forgot to include the header. Local variables not defined. Yeah, I don't, dude. Why are you warning me about a thing I wrote half a second ago? It's like obviously not. Like, goddamn, man. Charlie. Wait, where's player Charlie? Oh, I called it player Charlie. Local variable not initialized. Charlie sprite sheet unreferenced variable something blah blah blah. What's up, Jackasai? Jackasai? How's it going? Is Charlie the character name? I'm new to coding. Charlie is the character name. I mean, you know, for lack of a better thing to refer to Charlie as, we call him Charlie. I don't know if there's like actually a game where there's a player called Charlie in it, but for now the file is called Charlie and the variable is called Charlie. I could just call it player.png and this could just be called player sprite, right? But then what if you want a second character and then you have two things called player and then you have player and player 2. So instead, like, just call him Charlie because later we can have Jimmy and Cindy Lou and whatever. I don't know. Makes the code more fun to read. We need to load a sprite sheet. I don't think the sprite sheet has any functionality in it though. So somehow we need to load a sprite sheet. I think I'm gonna do this manually in main for now. So I wish I could collapse the sign panel all at once instead of having to like hide these windows one at a time and then reopen them one at a time every time I want to switch views. Or have like a hotkey to switch between views. Maybe you can do that in Visual Studio. Like view, is there like a save window setup and like restore window setup? I don't think there is, but that would be pretty nice. I think the only thing it does is it saves the window layout for editing, and then when you're debugging it saves a separate window layout for that. But often I want to like side-by-side things, right? I want to put this file here and then read. And then later I want to like put these things, but if I have these open, then I can't. The file's not wide enough. And it's annoying to have to like hover this thing to see the error list every time. If you could put the error list at the bottom. That's where it is by default. Maybe that's better. I don't know. Anyways, so we need to initialize the sprite sheet. How are we gonna do this? It needs a texture. Are we loading the texture? We are loading the texture. So basically we're just gonna say, actually we need to zero initialize this or we'll get lots of bugs. Lots of bugs. So basically we're just going to say Charlie sprite sheet frame count equals, and we're just gonna type all this stuff manually for now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Frame count is 9. Charlie sprite sheet frames equals calec, which we don't have in here for some reason. ASLIJKL include standard lib. calec, we need 1. Wait, no. We need 9. We need frame count frames. So that's gonna be size of this thing, right? Because frames should be frame. Sprite frame pointer size of this is gonna be 16, which is about right. I guess, yeah, double. 4, 4, 8, 16. And somewhere we need to free this. We'll probably refactor this into like a sprite sheet init thing in a second. Or I don't know, maybe not a second. Some amount of time. Frames, then what? Then we got sprite count equals 1. We're gonna do the same thing as we did for this, but for sprites. Sprites. Size of sprites, and this is gonna be sprite count. And then what else do we need? Texture. So Charlie sprite sheet texture is gonna equal Charlie texture. Nice. Wait, nice. Yeah. So now we got a sprite sheet, and a sprite sheet has sprites in it. 1 sprite. So Charlie's sprite is going to be. See, I don't really have any easy way to map this either. Maybe you give them names or something. I'm not really sure, but this is just basically gonna be sprites 0 for now. It's gonna be a pointer to sprites 0. So yeah, we're living on the edge right now. We're like doing manual pointer to things and, you know, allocating all willy-nilly. But basically, Charlie is a player who has some things. His default state is idle. His name is Charlie. He has position, move, accumulator, both 0. That's fine. Sprite and sprite frame index will also be 0 by default, which is fine. Fine for now. We got to make a lookup table for Charlie that maps, basically maps his player state enumeration to sprite frame indices, which again is something you should load from a file, probably eventually, but for now we're just gonna hard code it somewhere. Let's see. So we could test if that works, but we should probably do the lookup thing. I don't know. What should we do? Should we test? Well, let's delete this. Let's just delete these things so that we don't forget to delete them later. So I'm trying to be slightly good about that. So we have Charlie text and then this stuff. So Charlie text, Charlie text. Wait, why don't I have Charlie text in here? We already forgot to delete stuff. Oh no. Load music stream. So background music, Charlie text, tiles. Background music. Wait, what? Okay, I just need to look at all this stuff. I don't know. This has to go down here somewhere. Basically, free this. I'll read chat in a second. Sorry. Focus in. Let's see. Okay, so load sound wish. Load sound background. I want to load background music first. Well, doesn't really matter. Also, get default font can just go up here at the top. Okay. So we're gonna load background music first because that's kind of important. I probably want to even like start playing that immediately. Maybe I can do that. Can I in here say update music stream background music? Because then it would like start playing the music as soon as it does this before it even loads the map or anything. That'd be kind of cool. Let's see. Oh, well, I wasn't meaning for the code to get that. Whatever. I don't know. Also don't really want to play this sound here ever. Okay. Background music. Whoosh. Checkerboard. Background music. Whoosh. Checkerboard. I just want to make sure I'm unloading everything in the opposite order because dependencies. So checkerboard, Charlie text, tiles text. So Charlie text, Charlie text, unload texture, Charlie text, tiles set texture. And then I want to free those things in between. So frames, sprites, frames, tiles. Sprites, frames, tiles. Wait, is that right? Charlie frame sprite tile. Charlie frame sprite tile. And then somewhere there's like a tile set free. Tile set, free tile map, free, and then particle effect free. Yeah, in C++ you don't do this, it just magically works, but I don't really need a comment that tells me that close window closes the window. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. We do want to close the log file last. Also, I don't really call this de-initialization, I usually just call this cleanup. I made a game like this earlier today and it was a jumble of if-else statements. Yep, my first game ever looked exactly like that. It was a jumble of if-else statements. Wait, can you recount? I thought I saw 10 frames. I don't know, that would cause a lot of trouble down the line. I don't know if that would cause a lot of trouble down the line. Oh, the 10 frames thing? It would cause a lot of trouble, yes, because it would index out of bounds. There are 9 frames in the file. There's 4 with the face, 3 with the hair, and then 2 with the hat. Yeah. Feel free to count them. Are you done? Did you count them? Yeah, if we had less, it wouldn't be too bad. If we put the wrong number and the number's too big, then we'll basically try to access the sprite right here, which doesn't exist, and then, well, I don't know what will happen. Probably something bad. It's not even that the sprite doesn't exist. It'll try to access the array that contains data about the sprite, and that doesn't have any data about the sprite because that sprite doesn't exist. And then it will read off the end of an array and cause either just generic out of bounds error that's hard to debug, or an actual exception because it read bad memory. Like it read memory it didn't have read access to or something. So yes, very bad. Yeah, so that's like normally you would load this from somewhere else. I don't really know where, like I don't know how I would load it safely. Like even if I refactor this into a config file, it could still be wrong. Like someone could still say give me 10 frames. But, you know, that's, you just have to crash gracefully somehow, I guess. I think that was like over 20 years ago. Paul Grams, don't know if you know him, but yes, you're right. Oh, I didn't mean to click that. LOL, thanks. No problem, man. What were you working on? Earlier today, I made a game earlier today. What was your game about? I don't know if I have pictures. I think I took screenshots of my first ever game I made. It's in here somewhere. What's it called? Projects. I don't remember what the here we go, Vandito. That's the code name. This was called, well, I don't know what it was called. Dead Gem, New York City. I made this in 2007. But basically it was like Chip's challenge game where there like it was a tile-based thing and you had a little guy and he could walk through the puzzle, and like if there was a wall he wouldn't be able to walk into the wall. And he had to get the gems and the snakes would walk, and you had to not hit the snakes, and you had to collect all the gems, get the key, and then go unlock the door. And then there was like, you know, I stole the Pokemon art. I even made a README file for it, and it had like high scores of the fastest times for each, my fastest times for the levels if you wanted to try to beat them. That was pretty funny. Also redacted at Yahoo, that's funny. I don't use this email address anymore, that's why I redacted it. Yeah, but the code was exactly that. It was 10 bajillion if statements. Like if you look at this ls1, I don't remember what the file names are. No, this is just like the main thing. Yeah, so like these are the positions of like all the tiles and gems and things. Actually no, this is the splash screen. Like each character of the splash screen, it had a fancy animation thing, but every character has like its own variable, and they're just called like N1, N2, N3, N4, N5, and 6, right? And then like there's thing that just says like sleep, show, sleep, show, sleep, show, sleep, show. Like it's not data driven at all. I literally like programmed it like you would program assembly. Like every single thing that the program did, I wrote a line of code for, and there was nothing intelligent happening here. I don't, where's the actual level though? AU3, I guess it's this, level 1. Yeah, so like all of the tiles, like this black rect, black rect, black rect, these are the wall tiles. I literally like hand wrote this. However many things this is, 100, so it's 10 by 10 levels. So I wrote 100 things of like, this is a black rectangle, this is a white rectangle, this is a black rectangle, right? And then like here's all the gems and snakes and the person label, and then there's just like a million if statements that say if you're in cell 18 then you're allowed to move to cell, and you press the down or up arrow and you're in cell 18, then you go to cell 104. If you're in cell 56, then you go to cell 46. If you're in cell 74, you go to 64. What I didn't realize is that if you look at these numbers, so like as a more experienced programmer, you look at the numbers and be like, if person position is 21, or 21 go to 11, 24 go to 14, 28 go to 18. If you'll notice all these pairs of numbers, right? 21 to 11. You get really good at this as you get better at programming, right? 28 to 18, 39 to 29. What do all of these pairs of numbers have in common? 21 to 11, 28 to 18, 39 to 29. The second number is always exactly 10 less than the first number, right? So again, a more experienced programmer will look at this and be like, I can delete all of this code and just say move up person position equals person position minus 10, right? This line of code would replace all of these lines of code. And then for move down, it's the same thing, right? They're all plus 10. For move right, they're all plus 1, and for move left, they're all minus 1, right? They're different numbers, but they all have the same offsets. And then you just have to do a little extra work for like checking if you're at the edge of the map, right? It should be like person minus 10, but it would be like maximum of 0 and person minus 10. So basically prevent this from going negative, right? Because if person position is 5, 5 minus 10 is negative 5, and the maximum of 0 and negative 5 will equal 0, right? So that will just, this will bound the player inside the map. And then for the other one, you do like map width. But if you want to go even further, right, as you get more advanced and you abstract this even further, you'll realize that the only reason this number is 10 is because the map is 10 by 10. So this actually isn't 10, this is actually map width, right? So the super general algorithm is like person position equals person position minus map width, and you clamp it between the range of 0 and map width so that it doesn't go out of bounds. And actually this is height because this is move up, right? For move right, this would be width, but this was the move up one we were using, for example, so it'd be map height. Which actually, you can't ever move. Yeah, wait, is it was it plus 21 to 11? No, it is minus. Yeah, it's minus. So when you move up, you want to prevent going off the top of the screen. That's what the max does, right? Wait, if you're doing move down, then it would be plus. It's actually not map height. This would be map width. Anyways, you get the point. So you can, like, as you get more experience, you can start refactoring this stuff out and like putting variables in their place and coming up with an algorithm that generates all this code for you in a way less lines of code. But yeah, when you're a noob, you just do this because that's what you know how to do, and it's fine. And then later you can start recognizing these patterns. Like, that's a super useful thing. Is I actually posted this code on the AutoIt forums just because this was written in AutoIt script a long time ago. I used to hang out on the AutoIt forums. Someone was like, you know, you could just use a loop. And I was like, what's loops? They're like, oh, it's this thing, and it just like counts up. And I'm like, that would have saved me so much time. Yeah, so, you know, like, you just gotta learn slowly. But then eventually the problem is if you do that too much, then it is also bad, right? So the problem is when people become really crazy, like, programmers and doing all this stuff, they start doing things like the sprite sheet thing, right? Where I'm like, oh, I need to draw a character, right? And the easiest thing is I can just do draw rec, like 0, 0, 50, 100, right? And this would like draw the player. I could just be like, draw player. And it would be fine. But then you start generalizing that, because it's obviously you need to generalize that a bit. You need to track the player and move the player when the arrow keys are pressed, etc. So you kind of like sometimes go too far. We're like, okay, in order to draw a player, I need to have like a rectangle, and the rectangle should be associated with a sprite, and the sprite needs a texture. And then you start like designing all these crazy structures, and you end up with like 500 classes that all are interconnected and do like all this crazy shit, like initialize Vulkan buffer, right? And you're like, oh, if I have a Vulkan buffer and an OpenGL buffer, right? I have like Vulkan buffer, and then I also want to support OpenGL, and then like SDL texture. Well, now I need like a general base buffer that inherits from like SDL texture, and then it turns into like object-oriented hell where you have a billion generic like high-level things that don't actually do anything in your game when you could have just drawn a rectangle. And that's actually a lot harder problem to solve, right? Like the learning about while loops, solving your if statement problem is really easy. Learning not to over engineer things and come up with like a ton of really complicated classes and abstractions is really, really difficult. And a lot of people suck at it. Like a lot of people just come up with this crazy, insane, like gobbledygook of code that points to other code that has 50 million dependencies. And they're like, it's great. Look at this amazing thing I made. And you're like, it's 58 million lines of code when it could have been 5. Like, you're literally just drawing a rectangle. So yeah, there's both sides of the coin. Programming is hard, no matter how skilled you are. Hitting the sweet spot in the middle is not easy. Okay, let's debug this, I guess. Size of frames is 16. Size of sprite is 32. Sprite 32, sure, seems fine. Okay, we're gonna breakpoint here. So you need to unsimplify it so your code can address it in more complex ways. Yeah. Yeah, you want it to be flexible, right? Like you want to be able to load this stuff from a file so that I don't have to hand write in where every single tile is, right? I want to have like a file format that's like can be used in a map editor or something, you know. So you gotta convert code to data. Like there's only two things in a program. There's code and data, right? There's logic and there's data. So everything that you do is in your game can either be logic or data. So when people say they want to make their thing more data-driven, you're taking all of the information about like where things are, right? Like right here, I have a thing that says that tiles in this tile set are 64 by 64. Currently, this is code, right? I mean, it's data, it's numbers, but it's in the code. I could refactor this out into a data file. Like I could have a file that's called like tileset.txt, and it would annotate like how big the tiles are in a tile set and where the texture is stored. And then I can just say like tile set load, you know, instead of having to load a texture and load a tile set and load a tile map, I could just say like tile set load resources tile sets, you know, level 1 dot whatever, TS, like make the custom format, the tile set format or TXT or whatever, it doesn't really matter, right? Like this could be your tile set format. And it would have all this information, so like all of this code can be reduced to this one line that just knows how to load tile sets, and it's super dynamic and you don't have to recompile the program. You can make like an editor UI in C# or whatever other tooling you want, or like make scripts to automate, you know, editing this thing. You can give artists the ability to just go in here and edit the tile set file and like where the tiles are without having to understand C code, right, and worry about this like allocating buffers. So it is totally useful to abstract things. But if you abstract too far, you never make anything. You just make abstractions. Then you don't have a game. And then everyone is sad. Okay, let's look at this. Charlie sprite sheet. What do we got? 9 pointer, 1 pointer, texture. And we can check the pointers by saying Charlie sprite sheet frames 9. What? Frames. Is that is a pointer. Huh? Oh, sprite sheet's not a pointer. Okay. Okay, so here's all the frame data. Charlie sprite sheet sprites 1. Here's all the sprite data. We gotta connect them up. Right, so we said like Charlie sprite equals this thing, but Charlie sprite doesn't have anything in it. It doesn't have any frames. So in here, wait a second. This does still have to be a buffer, right? Because it has to point to more than one thing, not just one thing. Sprite frame frames. I think I'm gonna make this a size T. We're gonna make this a size T. We could make it an array or something, and then, you know. Should we make it an array? Is that better somehow? Not really, because it's still an indirection. Frames. We're going to dynamically allocate this for now. Frame indices. Frame counts. Frame indices. So sprites. Yeah, so we need to say basically Charlie width equals, I believe it's 54 by 94 if I recall. Height 94. Let's just check this once more. 54 by 94. I hate that Control-Shift-Z and Paint.net opens this thing instead of doing redo, which is what I expect. Redo is like Control-Y, which, how am I going to reach Y? I use two hands. Not a good hotkey. Where'd my other file go? Sprite sheet. Width, height, frame count, indices. Charlie Sprite. Frame count equals 9. Charlie Sprite. Frame indices equals calloc. This. Size of this. And then Charlie Sprite. So we're just gonna free, again, this is totally ridiculous, bonkers, bad code. But I don't care right now. It will get improved. Like, I won't have all the callocs. I'll just load all of the sprite data in one giant buffer, and these will be pointer offsets. It won't be dynamically allocated. It'll be fine. Don't worry. Have a plan. Okay. Sprite sheet equals Charlie. Sprite sheet. Pointer. Yeah. So all this is like total dumb nonsense, but that's how we do. Build failed. Why did the build fail? A lot of reasons. See declaration of Sprite. Frames is not a member of Sprite. Oh. Frame indices. Wait a second. Okay, these are gonna be like Sprite frame indices. This is gonna be Sprite frame index. Yeah. Totally good code. Sprite frame equals frame indices Sprite frame index. What's the problem with this? Wait, do we need the sprite sheet too? Oh geez. There's so many pointers. Sprite sheet. Frames. Frame index const size t frame index equals this. So this is going to be sheet frame index. The sprite sheet frames, sheet frame index. Sheet frame index. And sprite frame indices is going to be, just be like sheet frames. Frame count. Frame indices into sprite sheet frames buffer for the sprites. I should just make these pointers probably. It's like less annoying things to look up, right? Like, I'm gonna go back to this frames. Frames for the sprites animation. Yeah, this is gonna be frames. This is gonna be sprite frame equals frames like this. And then this is just gonna be like frames equals frames equals 0 while frame index is less than this, frame index plus plus. Oh, this should be double. This should be double pointer. Right, frames, frame index equals Charlie sprite sheet frames, frame index, Charlie sprite sheet frames, frame index, ampersand. What a mess. It's like almost easier to just make it data driven from the start than to hard code all this nonsense. Frames. What is all this crap complaining about? What? How did that many warnings disappear by changing one line? Bruh. Alright, we're gonna pause here and we're gonna look at the sprite and sprite sheet again. Charlie sprite. We need times as well, which are also not in the file. Oh, and we didn't load any of the size data either. Right, like sprites. Yeah, this literally might be easier to just put in a text file and read it from the text file. For size D. Equals 0. Frame index is less than this. Frame index plus plus. X, Y, frame time. Okay, X equals 5494. 54 times frame index. Int. Frame index. Frame Y equals 94. Frame time equals 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, you can't have frame time be part of this because that wouldn't be the same for a potential duplicate thingerbobbers. I feel like this should just have X, Y. Bit height. Yeah, we have to like allocate this anyway, so maybe we do just allocate this here. Change my mind. I'm just gonna go to this. It can still be linear later if it needs to. Frame count equals 9. Frames equals this. Sprite count. Yeah, this is gonna be frame count equals 9. Frames equals times frames. And then we just don't need this stuff. Right, like this is gonna go down here. We don't need this. Frame index, Charlie Sprite. Frames. Sprite frame equals Charlie Sprite. Frames, frame index. Frame equals 54 times frame index. Y equals, actually Y equals 0, not 94. And frame time equals, it doesn't matter what frame time equals. Like, it could just be 0 because it's not going to be used because there's only one frame, right? Yeah. This isn't even really Sprite. This is like animation. Like the player itself is the sprite. 5494. Oh yeah, frame width equals 54. Frame height equals 94. We don't need this. Which means we don't need this. Okay, let's see. We got a bunch of other errors somewhere else now. See declaration of sprite. What? Width is not a member of sprite. Sprite frames player sprite frame index height. Frames sprite frame has a height. Now what's this complaining about? Must have pointer type. Which one? Oh my god. This doesn't have pointer type. Sprite frame is this. Sprite frame is this. And then somewhere in here, let's see, sprite frame isn't this is also just gonna be this, right? Sprite frame is sprite let's just say rectangle player get wrecked. Get wrecked. Const sprite frame equals this. Rectangle rect equals x equals frame x equals frame y. Width equals frame width equals frame height. Return rectangle. Player gets center. Okay. Target center is just going to do sprite frame player get frame. Player get wrecked. So this can just be player get wrecked. Player XY with height. We don't need this. Get frame, get wrecked. Get frame, get wrecked, get center. That might be okay, I don't know. Let's see. If it compiles, we're missing something before something. Jesus Christ. What the f is this? Like missing a freaking semicolon somewhere or something stupid? Okay, where's the missing semicolon? Dude, what the hell is this? I hate when the compiler just is like, here's 75 bajillion errors. Try to figure out which one's the real error. Because we sure as hell don't know. I don't get it. What's the issue? Is it because of rectangle? Like, what the fuck is the problem, dude? Struct Sprite. Okay, so this has to say struct because it's also a type def. Is that what you're complaining about? Can we fix the other errors like before this shit is whining? Width, height, it's not even errors, it's like dumb conversion things. Const, can't return, const, pointer, blah blah blah. Cool. Where's the freaking file we were in before? What file was that? This one. Okay, let's see if we get 10 million errors. I think it's complaining about this now. Size T differs from something something blah blah blah. This should be frame count. Charlie Sprite frame count. Okay. This is getting like more indented than I would like. You can do like type def struct sprite frame and then get rid of this. Or I could just include it, which maybe I should because it's kind of a dependency anyways. I don't need any of this shit. right? Or this. It's probably the better idea. Probably. What did I miss? Hello, thanks. Good night. Yes, the sleep. You couldn't just subtract 1 from it. 10 between. I can feel the time lost. It hurts. Hello, Vitriol. So your code can address it more. I already read all that stuff. I never believe the viewer thing in Twitch, so I never know if people are watching. Just like, I just look at chat every once in a while and see if someone said something. Although everyone has the same color name in chat, which is kind of annoying. I know it's different for different people, but currently, like, everyone is purple. Like, there's 3 people in the chat who are all purple. So I'm just like, oh yeah, that's the guy who left a long time ago. I'm like, oh look, a new guy. A new guy who also has a purple name. Okay, let's look at frames. Charlie Sprite frames. We're gonna look at this. Frames 9. And we should get 54, 94, 0, 0, 54, 0, 108, 0, 54, 94. Frame time. There's no frame time because there's no animation, so that's fine. I don't even know like how I would store the animation because I'm just like manually animating this. Like they're not even frames at that point. They're like different sprites kind of. It's weird. Like I programmed this as if it were an animation with times between the frames because that seems like it's something I'd want to do. But for the use case of the player, it's not really an animation. It's just manually has frames, you know? So I guess like I would have animation in here. Yeah, like I would have another thing that's like sprite animation. And that would have like, I don't know. That would point into the frames somehow. Or maybe the animation would have frames. It's all very confusing. This is probably why you don't add things that you don't need yet. Like frame time should just, I don't need that yet. It's just there, it's not animated. I just literally just need frames. This can go in here and do some stuff, I guess. Sure. Okay, I guess I never killed the debugger. Player admit. And we're passing a sprite. Yeah, so like the update thing just has to update stuff eventually. Like this thing has to pick the right sprite. Which is basically just gonna say, for now, sprite frame index equals player state as in size t. Because they coincidentally line up. Not coincidentally, I mean, you know, they line up on purpose because that's what I did. Idle, west, southeast. So theoretically, if we just add, well, we need to draw the player somewhere. Well, let's do that. I think aren't we drawing Charlie somewhere? Yeah, player, wait, we're already doing player draw Charlie. Okay, does this draw Charlie or does it crash? Question number 1. Okay, it crashes. Why does it crash? Sprite frame index is a giant fucking number. Why? Did we not zero the player? We didn't zero the player. God damn it. Why is that? Just do it by default, man. Just zero initialize my shit for me. Like, so annoying. Sure, whatever. Everything should be zero initialized. So are you making a 2D game because you got tired of 3D dev? Yeah, pretty much. That is the title of the stream. Good job reading. Just need a break, work on something else, you know? It's like doing a lot of back-end technical stuff, a lot of math stuff, collision and physics and all that, and it's stopped being fun, so I stopped working on it. At least for now. What am I doing? I need to find the player. Is the player rendered? Yes. The player is rendered. I need the camera to follow the player so that I don't have to keep doing this zoom thing. Targets. Camera targets. Camera target. Is there a camera thing? Camera speed. Let's see. We need a toggle. I love that it's called player movement, but it's nothing to do with player movement. This is like camera. Okay, we're just gonna do static int follow player equals. Well, probably that's not a good idea. Camera follow player equals 1 if camera follow player. Else camera target equals player position. Charlie. I know it's called something, I just don't remember what. Camera reset. Camera follow player equals 1. Somewhere in here where the buttons happen. If F11. Where do the buttons happen? Let's just kind of update as well. I'm just gonna get rid of this for now. Like, I don't know, man. This is related to the camera also. If is key pressed, key F. Camera follow player equals not camera follow player. Great. Voila. Now, oh, I don't have movement. Okay, so if I press F, I can move the camera. If I press F again, it follows the player. Press F, press F. Great. Now I just need, I guess, this. Player speed, right? Charlie position. It's not gonna be camera zoom. Just be this. No. We have to do the magic thing. The magic thing. How do we do the magic thing? Player, move. Charlie. Offset X, offset Y. Yeah, about that. What does this do? Is this a fast method? I think it's a fast method. This is an extraordinarily fast method. We're just gonna call it 4 times. Charlie. player speed, player speed. See, this is why you vertically align your code, because then you can just like change it all at the same time. It's pretty great, right? X, Y, 0. This is gonna be plus. This is gonna be minus. This is gonna be plus. This is gonna be minus. Sure. See, I don't know about like going this far, you know, where you do this sort of thing. That seems kind of pointless. Even that seems kind of pointless. It's not plus equals player move. This is just like this. Now it's complaining about float things. 5 is probably too fast. Let's see. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Oh, what? Bro. It's fine if the offset is 0. They just can't both be 0, because that makes no sense. Oh, yeah, look at him go. Woo! Zoom. You zoom in, boss. I don't like how it... Why does it do this, like... I don't... Wait, I'm updating the camera before the player or something, aren't I? Something weird is happening, and I don't like it. Yeah, this, right here. If camera... Yeah, what the fuck? What am I doing? This is a weird place to put player movement code, but whatever, man. I'm only doing this because I'm using the same keys. Like, if I can move the camera... Yeah, see, now there's not the weird offset thing where he, like, moves up and down. Although... the player is not centered. Like this, I believe this is the center of the screen. Like the top left of the dude. Yeah, he's definitely not centered vertically. Player move. So like the render player thing. This. Player draw. This should draw... I'm actually not sure. Should the position be the center? Wait. What? I think the get player wrecked. Where else am I calling this? Just here? There was a thing in the SFML that was like player world bounds or whatever. Get world bounds, get global bounds. I can do that. Yeah, like center. Yeah, I'm adding position. So basically, this is a float, right? I just need to add the player position to this. Not really sure what this is gonna do. Well, that's pretty cool. Look at this. I like have a window into an invisible texture. This is actually really cool. This is like those cartoon backgrounds. I might want to do this on purpose. Not for the player texture, but this is a pretty cool effect. Why is it doing that? Oh, cause why is 0, 0? Like, oh, I think the camera is not sent. Yeah. Okay, that's a different problem. The camera's not centered. Okay, it's not the player, it's the camera. That is so cool, though. I love that effect. You guys know what I'm talking about? It's like the end portal in Minecraft. You know how the end portal has that background texture where that like stays still, but the, you know. It's probably in here somewhere. I hate this guy so much. It's like the most annoying YouTuber ever made. Yeah, you guys know this texture? See how like the background texture of the end portal doesn't move? It's like I mean, it's animated, right? It has particles, but it like stays still relative to the rest of the stuff on the screen. So I could like make the end portal using this bug I just made accidentally, which to do on purpose probably would have taken me a while to like think of how to do that, and it probably would have been way more convoluted than this simple bug that I made. Get frame rect. So get frame rect is just gonna do this, and then this is gonna be like player get frame rect, and then I'm just gonna say x plus equals this and return it. Get frame rect, get rect, get frame rect, get rect. Whoops. Funny bug where texture stays still relative to screen. Could be fun to abuse later. Okay, let's fix the camera offset now, because we have get center already. That's what I made that for. Like this should be player get center Charlie. Then hopefully we'll fix the weird offset. There we go. Now he's in the center of the screen. Also, why? Too many files open. Player.c. Open player.c. Okay, why is this update thing not working? Oh, we're not calling player update, are we? Well, there's your problem. This is player move. We need to call player update somewhere after move and before. We could just call it in here. No, that's a bad idea. Okay, this is not relevant. Target camera follows player. We're not doing that anymore. We don't really need camera rotation. I just leave it there for now, I guess. I don't know. Camera zoom. Screenshot thing, like whatever. That should be somewhere totally else. Update music stream. Particle effects. I'm just gonna put this down here for now. Player update. Charlie. I'm gonna move music stream up farther because I want that to be like something that happens very quickly. I mean, basically at the top, arguably. particles really don't need to be here. Like you want to update audio first, and then you want to handle input. Potentially, I don't know. Maybe input's more important than audio. Like audio delay is like the easiest thing to notice in a game. If the audio skips, then you're like, what the fuck? This thing is so glitchy. If it doesn't handle your input, it's harder to notice, but that's still pretty bad. If like the particles don't update on time, who cares, right? Like that's just irrelevant. You should fix it, but it's not the most important thing. Wait, what is this? Hold on. Oh, so this is input. Yeah, I should switch the order of this so that I recognize it as input. But then like this is also input. Like this should be on its own thread, honestly. Freaking particle things. F follow. Okay. Check it out, boys. We did it. We got animated guy. Yes, I know it's really bad. It's ugly. I drew it in paint. I actually like most of these. I mean, it's not animated in the sense that his feet move, right? But like, wait, I don't like the default idle. Like, yeah, I don't like the move accumulator thing. I kind of just want him to be the last place he was. Like, I don't like the else idle. Right, like north, south. Maybe we should just get rid of move accum. Because I don't really like that existing. But I also don't like what it does. And then we don't really even need player update, I guess. Well, I don't know. We need this. We don't need this. Wait, do we need offset? Update state. This should really be called update direction. And it could just go and move directly, but whatever. We'll keep it refactored out for now. Update state doesn't exist. Like, we could store last move in here. Right? Like player move, player last move time equals get time. If player last move time greater than 10. Wait, no. Delta. Time since last, we'll just call it the long thing, right? Time since last time equals get time minus player last move time. If player last move time and time since last move player state equals idle. Also, I should give these prefixes, otherwise they're just like global. Player state idle. And we gotta fix all these. Doop-a-doop, doop. Doop-a-dee-doop, doop, 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 doop-a-dee-doop. Okay, that's how I want that thing to work, right? So now, let's see, what did we fuck up? I think there's like I don't know, seems fine. Great, it's fine. Oh, it's not fine. Uh-oh. What did I do wrong? Oh, wait. And this is greater than 10. What? What's going on? We didn't call update direction, did we? That's no good. Update direction. Player. Now offset needs to be passed. God damn it. Oh. Should we just make offset a vector? I don't have like vector add, right? Do I? v2 add. Vector 2 add. What the hell is in this file? v2 add. Oh, it's probably because it's not included. I might regret this, but I'm gonna make this a vector 2, I guess. For now. Then we can accumulate in the caller, that's fine. Then this can just say offset X or offset Y. We could check if it's 0 or something, whatever. Okay, position equals v2 add player position offset, and then we don't need this. We do need this. What's the issue here? Hello? Why is there a red squiggle? Too few argument. What do you mean? We need too few arguments. There's 2 arguments. It takes 2 vectors. Oh, it's because of this. Bruh. Player state. Yeah, let's update direction player move. Let's put this here. Player state is player state idle. Sure. This last move time. What else do we need to do? Oh yeah, we gotta. Let's see. Undeclared identifier. What? It's not undeclared. It's literally right here. What are you talking about? Charlie? Move offset. move offset. Okay, this is gonna be negative x, move offset x minus equals player speed. This is just gonna go back to how it was before, basically. Which is A, D is plus, this is Y, right? W up minus, yeah. Okay, now what are you whining about? Time since last move, undeclared. What the hell is this thing's issue? This, update direction, player offset. Okay, great. Like half-finished functions. Okay, now what are you complaining about? Offset 0, 0. Oh, because we're always calling it. If not, V2 is 0, move offset. I mean, it's not really harmful to call a player move when the player didn't move. Actually, it is harmful, because then it would get called every frame. We wouldn't know when the player last moved. So, yeah. We could return. This is like way better, because then he gets like stays the direction he was going, which is kind of cool. But then if we wait 10 seconds, he should go to the idle state and then start whistling. Yeah. And then if we start moving, he stops whistling. There's actually a like whistle sound that plays. I don't know if it's in this one. There was a whistle sound in the previous version. I have the sound file still, but I don't know if I'm actually playing it. I guess I'm not yet. But I can. But let's move this to here. Like, if it's not 0, then do all this stuff. Right? Offset last move position, update direction. Yeah, I mean, it could be early out as well, but like then we can just call this with whatever and it's fine, it won't assert. Like we could just also say this and have less indentation. This should be return, not continue, but you get the point. Yeah, I don't know which is really better. Probably this. Probably I want this to like early out. We'll still assert player because it's invalid to call this with nil even if offset is 0. You don't want that to happen. Check it again. Doop 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 doop. I don't like how he starts with 0 though. I feel you should start facing down. Maybe. West, east, south. So the reason it's 0 is because it has to line up, so I can't change it here. What I can do is Charlie equals 0. And here I can just say player state equals player state south. Sure. So he'll just start facing the screen. And then if you wait a bit, he will do the whistle McWhistle bobber. Do it. Do it now. Maybe he will do the whistle McWhistle bobber. Why is he not doing the whistle? Oh, because I haven't moved. Oh. Actually, okay. Interesting. I do want that to happen if this is 0 then. right? Player last move is 0. So I guess in player init I need to get time. Last move time equals get time. Let's see, what is this? Name, state, position, last move time. Name, state, position, last move time. Sprite frame index. Name, state, position, last move, that's gonna be 0. Name, state, last move time, yeah. Okay, now he should be facing down. And then he should start whistling after 10 seconds. Even if I don't move. Great. Now let's test the case where I do move. Wait 10 seconds. I could make it less than 10 seconds and it would take less time to wait for it, but hey. Great. Whistle McWhistlepants. Our friend Charlie, aka Whistle McWhistlepants, whistles when he doesn't do anything for 10 seconds. Pretty great. What else should he do? I don't really care about adding the whistle sound effect, you know? Oh no, we forgot to turn gravity back on. That can't happen. We have to have gravity. Otherwise, he bleeds into outer space instead of bleeding like a normal human. Oof. 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 I feel like I should play it, I don't know, somewhere else. It's kind of weird how it spawns. I don't know where it should play. I guess center minus, right? Get particle effect, player update. What does player update do again? I guess put player update first, and then we'll say particle effect update. We're gonna say this, and then we're gonna say particles origin equals v2 add Charlie position vector 2. I don't know if I can pass it like this. X, Y plus 0.0 F 30 94. Sorry, I'm just saying a lot of numbers, thinking out loud. What the frick? What the? Oh my god, that's not right. How did that happen? What? What? I'm so confused. I guess it's just this. Maybe because it's relative to the screen. That's dumb. Wait, what? No, that is world space. Oh, it gets changed somewhere else, doesn't it? Somewhere else there's like equals camera target or some stupid thing. Blood particles. Where's this? What? Is this doing it? Position. Or is it generate? No, generate puts it, right? Where's that? P. Yeah, this. Or no? Okay. Then this should just be blood position equals v2 add Charlie position. No, not position. Player get center Charlie. Vector 2 0.030f. Okay, and then we can get rid of whatever thing. Did I already get rid of it? I don't even know. Dude, what the frick? Origin. This is what I wanted to get rid of. Ah. Yeah, center Charlie, vector 2, x, y, 30. Is 30 like not enough or what? Oh, god damn it. Read the warnings. It's right there. It literally tells you what the problem is. It's because you didn't even use the stupid variable. Aha! There we go. That's, whoa, that is inappropriate. Sorry, Twitch. TOS. That is not where I wanted them to spawn. There we go. That's more like center of mass, you know? That's like a good old body shot. So the problem is we're setting the origin of all of these things. Is that true, or are we adding the origin? I think we add the origin every time we draw, right? Do we? Yeah, we add the origin. So we can move the particle system. Yeah, so like particle effect start. That's all great and fantastic and stuff. But like in here, we can say blood particles origin equals. I guess we could just always put it in here instead of in this. Right? Just do this. Blood particles origin equals blood position. I guess this should be like Charlie gut, right? Yeah. Let's make a thing. Player. What's it called? Point of like a waypoint. It's like it's not an attachment point. I'm not attaching anything. I guess. Let's just call it this for now or something. I don't know. Player part. Gut. guess. I don't know, man. This is like very art decided. Vector to player gets attach point player attach point switch attach point case break. What? Why is this not a thing? What's the issue? Comma. Sure. Vector to center equals player get center player. Gosh darn it. Spelling all the things wrong. Let's see. V2 add. Get player center. Vector 2 0.0 10.0 F. Return attach. I don't know. Vector 2 attach equals 0. Attach. Return attach. We gotta put this get center. We gotta put this in here. Put it in here. Player attach point guts. Sure, now it's at least in one place. I don't know, again, where this data would come from realistically. I guess it can all be hard-coded for now. It's definitely like a thing that theoretically you would want the art team to decide. But currently there's no art team, so it's not a problem. Okay, we could run this and see what it does, which hopefully is that Charlie can run around now, and he can bleed. Now, this is not great, because actually what you want is not the origin to always be added to the particles in this case. Like, you don't have to, that is an interesting question. I don't think you would ever want that. I don't think you want to add origin and draw. I think you want to add origin and spawn, right? There's gonna be somewhere in here blood particle effects update. Position is 0. I want to only set the position of the particle when the particle spawns. Maybe I should make a particle dead flag to make this a bit more explicit, because I don't know how else I would definitively detect that a particle was dead without hacky stuff. So I think I'm just going to add dead. Yeah. State. So these are particle effects. Wait, particle effect type, particle state. This should be particle effect state dead. Particle effects type. This is kind of verbose, but whatever. Particle effects type, particle effect state. Okay, and then we need particle state. I don't think we need particle type. Particle state alive. Dead. Well, we want them to all be dead by default, so we'll make dead 0. 0, and we'll do this so that we know it's important, that it's explicit. 0, 1. Okay, we're gonna comment this temporarily and see where all this was used. Particle effects count. Particle state. Particle effects type count. Is this even used for anything? I don't think this is even used for anything. Just delete it. Particle effects type count. Particle effects state dead. Particle effects type blood. Particle effect state alive. Particle effect state dead. Particle effect and effect. Particle effect type. Particle effect state. Let's see. Okay, parse particle effects. Particle state, particle effect, particle effect type. Okay, now we can uncomment these, and in here, when we generate the particles, well, we need to have this particle state, and then in here, we're gonna say particle state equals particle state dead. I'm gonna say if particle state equals particle state dead, particle state equals particle state alive. So we're gonna spawn the particle and say particle position. Now, let's see. Yeah, particle position equals particle effects origin. And now down here, we just want to render all the particles. Wait, when it dies, we have to set it back to dead. If this and this, if it's alive. Otherwise, we gotta set it set it to dead. Else, if it's greater than 0, particle state equals dead. Sure, we can just do it every time, because whatever, man. Sure. And then here we don't want to add the origin every time. Right, we just want particle position X, which is a float, and we want to cast that to an int. Alright, let's try this. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Let's try this. Do 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 do. Oh yeah, that is nice. Look at this. Heck yeah! Woo! Look at him go. That was so worth it. Now the spray comes out of the body regardless of where the body is. Let's go. That's actually like so good. That solves so many problems I thought I was gonna have to solve. Like, it even fixes the direction problem, kind of. Like if you're standing still, it just sprays out. I love it. Like we can even make it longer, although we have to tweak the gravity settings, unfortunately, if we do that. We could add more particles. And make the stream crash. It actually doesn't look better if you add more particles. I think mostly because my my random doesn't have enough. Like if we make it 200, that's 5 times as many particles, which means we need more. Where is it in here? Yeah, we need more resolution for the random. Like this should be like 500. It still is like, it's just too much of a square if you have too many particles, you know? Looks like I'm shooting out a Superman cape. Yeah, just too many. Can I just make this a giant number? Like int max over, right? Can I just do that? Wouldn't that be like the most random it could ever get? Wait, what? Why does that make it worse? That doesn't make sense. If we divide this by this, wait, random normalized should be 0 to, yeah, it's a 999 over this. Why does that just make a straight line? I don't know, it makes no sense. I have to look up what the random thing does. Oh, because this, probably, right? I had two functions, I was only changing one. That still looks horrible. I guess because they're so uniform, if you have a lot of particles that are really uniform, they just cover the screen like super evenly. I don't know why there's a random one that just appears in the top left sometimes. Or like... yeah, what? Why is that happening? There's like a random red dot appearing right here next at the corner of the green grass, like randomly sometimes. I don't know what's up with that. Like somehow it's getting 0. In the spawn thing or something. Oh wait, I'm saying draw if, oh, I know why. Yeah, this can be fixed to just say if particle state equals particle state alive, and then we won't get that. It's because a little bit of time passed between update and draw, and the particle wasn't alive in update, but it was update and draw, and it doesn't have a proper position. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, this is just too many particles though. Back to 40. It doesn't look random if you have too many. This is gonna look bad because gravity's gonna drop it too far. But it's kind of funny. Yeah, the gravity thing's annoying because it doesn't know where the ground is. So I guess like it would have to keep track of where it spawned minus the player's feet height or something. Like, I guess it would need to know. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I could make it 3D. Maybe I will. I don't know. Anyways, that's the thing. I don't think I actually changed this in any meaningful way, so let's not save that. Let's, I guess, did I export this? I don't even know. Let's go in here. We're going to, what do we add? Player, sprite sheet, basic movement, attach point, particles. Sure. Can't push it because I don't have a remote. I should probably get a remote. Alrighty, folks. Thanks for stopping by. If anyone is still here, it's been fun. I'm out.